What's up, Big Blue Nation? Get ready, because today we're diving into a story of resilience, reliability, and raw grit in the trenches. We're talking about a veteran lineman who quietly became one of the most important pieces of the New York Giants offense in 2024, Greg Van Roten. Yeah, I know, he might not be the flashiest name on the roster, but trust me, what he brought to this offensive line deserves your attention. So let me ask you, can a dependable, adaptable veteran lineman become the glue that holds it all together in 2025? Let's start with a quick teaser. Imagine a Giants' offensive line shuffled by injuries and setbacks, a room full of uncertainty, and one guy who just shows up, does the job, and plays more snaps than anyone else on offense. That's Greg Van Roten for you. Signed quietly in 2024 after a spring setback to Evan Neal, Van Roten was supposed to be depth. Instead, he became the constant on a constantly shifting line. Originally, the Giants had big plans for Jermaine Illuminor and John Runyon Jr. to be the starting guards. But when Evan Neal's ankle recovery hit a wall, everything changed. Illuminor slid to right tackle, and boom, Van Roten stepped into the starting lineup at right guard. And he didn't just hold the spot, he locked it down. Even more impressively, when injuries hit again, he showed the flexibility to fill in at center too. By season's end, Greg Van Roten had started 15 games at right guard and 2 at center. No lineman on the Giants played more snaps. That availability, that versatility, that's what coaches live for. And that's why Van Roten is back in 2025 on a one-year, $3.25 million deal, with $2.45 million guaranteed and the potential to earn up to $3.75 million total. Now let's not pretend everything was perfect. Van Roten led the team in pressures allowed with 35, and there were definitely plays where the pocket collapsed too fast. But context matters. When you're playing the most snaps on the entire offense and sliding between positions all year, you're gonna have a few leaks. What's more important is that he was there. Consistently. Every week. While others dropped like flies, Van Roten answered the bell. And here's what really makes him interesting heading into this season. The Giants are still trying to figure out their best 5 linemen. Neal is competing at guard now. Runyon is in the mix. Center John Michael Schmitz hasn't played a full 17-game season yet. So guess what? That makes Van Roten's versatility even more valuable. He's the guy who lets the rest of the line shift around while keeping the train moving. In a league where offensive line depth is always tested, the Giants may have struck gold with a veteran like Van Roten. Let's not forget, this guy's been around for over a decade. He's played in multiple systems, lined up at nearly every interior spot, and brings that veteran mindset to a group with a lot of younger pieces. With Carmen Brasillo coaching this unit, Van Roten's familiarity with the scheme is another underrated asset. Here's a question for all of you. If Evan Neal actually thrives at left guard this year, what does that mean for Van Roten? Do you keep him in rotation, make him a sixth-man swing lineman, or let him start at right guard again? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is the kind of competition we want to see in training camp. And speaking of camp, don't overlook how having 3 quality guards competing can actually raise the bar for everyone. Iron sharpens iron. If Van Roten can hold off a hungry, motivated Evan Neal or a more comfortable John Runyon Jr., that tells you everything you need to know about his value to the Giants' offensive line. Let's be real. The 2024 season was brutal for the Giants' offense in general. Injuries, inconsistency, and more reshuffling than a deck of cards. But in the middle of that storm, Greg Van Roten was one of the few constants. You need guys like that in the locker room. You need pros who know their role, do their job, and don't complain. Fans might focus on the quarterback battle, the new wide receiver weapons, or how Russell Wilson is going to lead this offense. But let me tell you, none of that matters if the offensive line isn't solid. And that's why we need to talk more about guys like Van Roten. He doesn't demand headlines, but his performance earns them. Let's take a moment to appreciate the veteran leadership that Van Roten brings. He's not just a stopgap, he's a mentor to the younger linemen. In the trenches, communication is everything, and having a seasoned vet who understands protections, blitz pickups, and subtle defensive line stunts can elevate everyone around him. Whether he's pointing out adjustments pre-snap or coaching guys up on the sideline, Van Roten's voice matters. And how about his durability? It's rare in today's NFL to find a lineman who can play nearly every snap without a drop-off. That's not luck, that's preparation, conditioning, and mental toughness. Van Roten showed up every single week, ready to fight in the trenches. And when it's 3rd and long and your quarterback needs a clean pocket, that's when you want a guy like Van Roten in front of him. Let's not forget the respect he has in the locker room either. Coaches trust him. Teammates lean on him. And that trust isn't just about what he does during games. It's built Monday through Saturday in the film room, in walkthroughs, and in practices. That consistency builds chemistry, and chemistry builds offensive line success. The 2025 season could be the last ride for Van Roten, or it could be the year he proves he deserves another shot in 2026. Either way, this year will define how he's remembered in Giants blue. Will he be remembered as a one-year plug-in or a foundation piece during a pivotal transition for the franchise? But what really sets Van Roten apart is his willingness to adapt. Whether it's stepping into a new position mid-game or learning a new technique to fit the offensive line coach's latest adjustments, he's always evolving. That kind of adaptability is what turns a veteran into a cornerstone. It's not just about what he's done, it's about what he's still capable of doing. We've seen players come and go, big-name signings that didn't pan out, and young talents who couldn't stay healthy. But Van Roten's value is measured in trust. Trust that when he's called upon, the job gets done. That's a quiet kind of leadership, the kind you don't always see in highlight reels but that every successful team absolutely needs. Let's talk longevity. 11 years in the NFL trenches is no joke. It takes mental toughness, preparation, and a deep understanding of the game. Van Roten's film study habits, his nutrition, his attention to detail, all of it has allowed him to outlast countless players who were once drafted higher or praised louder. He's built a career out of doing the little things right. And in a locker room that's seen a lot of turnover in recent years, having that level of continuity matters. Van Roten's presence gives the team a sense of stability, and younger linemen benefit just from watching how he prepares. He's a culture guy, a tone setter, and every good team needs that, especially in a division as tough and physical as the NFC East. So here we go, Giants fans. 2025 is shaping up to be a defining year for this offensive line. Will Greg Van Roten reclaim his starting job? Will he slide in as a key depth piece ready to jump in anywhere? However it shakes out, you can count on one thing. He'll be ready. Because that's who he is. And that wraps it up for today's breakdown, Big Blue fam. If you believe in building from the trenches and appreciate the unsung heroes, make sure to smash that like button. Drop a comment with your take on Van Roten's role this year. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a second of New York Giants news. Share this with a fellow fan who loves the grinded-out linemen as much as the stars. Until next time, bleed blue, and go Giants!
Sweet.